Look at a stadium packed with thousands of people, bodies pressed together, voices screaming so loudly that the sound actually vibrates in your chest. At the height of his career, Michael Jackson could inspire this level of absolute, almost overwhelming devotion anywhere on earth. But there's a difference between being seen by millions and being truly known by them. Being the center of the world's attention doesn't always make a person feel safe. That feeling of security disappears the moment the music stops. To understand where that tension began, we have to leave the stadiums behind and return to a small house in Gary, Indiana in 1960. Inside that home, Joe Jackson ran rehearsals with relentless discipline. He believed talent alone could never lift a family out of poverty. To him, a missed note wasn't just a mistake. It was a failure that could threaten the family's future. This was where Michael learned one of life's harshest lessons. Love could sound exactly like applause, and approval could disappear the moment you stopped performing. That relentless discipline pushed the Jackson 5 from local talent shows to Motown, where every part of the family's image was polished to perfection. The group succeeded together, but the music industry quickly focused on the youngest voice. Even while his brothers stood beside him, every pair of eyes returned to Michael. It created an invisible fracture within the family. While most children discovered who they were in private, Michael's identity was being built in front of the entire world. Every smile was rehearsed. Every movement was carefully planned. There was no room for an ordinary childhood. As he grew older, he faced a difficult truth. He had spent his entire life becoming whatever everyone else needed him to be. Now he had to discover who he really was after executives and family members stopped making those decisions for him. Motown helped him escape the small house in Gary, but it simply replaced his father's control with the demands of a global audience. In 1979, Michael began working with Quincy Jones. While much of the industry still viewed him as a former child star, Quincy recognized an artist capable of transforming popular music. Together, they created Off the Wall, establishing Michael as a powerful solo performer. Even after selling millions of records, Michael believed the industry still didn't fully respect his artistry. Instead of slowing down, he became obsessed with creating something impossible to ignore. That obsession became Thriller. He transformed music videos into cinematic experiences. By combining street drama, horror, and unforgettable storytelling, he made his image impossible to escape. Through his music, groundbreaking short films, and the legendary moonwalk, Michael shattered every limit the music industry had accepted. But every peak eventually becomes a prison. He was now trapped by the impossible expectation of surpassing Thriller. The world's attention shifted toward his appearance. As vitiligo gradually changed his skin, the public examined every detail of his face as though it belonged to them. Then, during a commercial shoot in 1984, disaster struck. The pyrotechnics fired at the wrong moment. A spark ignited Michael's hair. For several terrifying seconds, he kept performing while his body was literally on fire. The stage had always been the one place where he felt most powerful. Now the very place that once gave him freedom had physically scarred him. Despite the injuries, the machinery of his career never slowed down. He agreed to perform on the Victory Tour with his brothers. But during the final concert, he announced it would be their last performance together. With those words, he finally ended his father's control over his career. He had achieved independence. But he had also lost the last people who truly shared his past. Now he stood alone as a global symbol before a world that knew only his image. For the bad era, Michael created a completely new identity. Black leather, metal buckles, a sharper attitude, a stronger sound. This wasn't just a fashion statement, it was emotional armor. He was building a barrier between himself and a public whose obsession had reached overwhelming levels. That armor projected strength to crowds who fainted at the mere sight of him. It transformed a vulnerable performer into an untouchable icon. At Wembley Stadium in 1988, Michael controlled 70,000 people through little more than silence, precision, and presence. Yet the higher he climbed, the more impossible genuine human connection became. He was surrounded by millions of fans, but separated from the privacy needed to simply be a person. He had spent his childhood trying to become extraordinary enough to earn love. Now he had become so extraordinary that ordinary love no longer felt possible. Watching him perform feels urgent, as though he's constantly racing against the moment when the music finally stops. Because once the silence arrives, the old memories return. The endless rehearsals, the constant criticism, the fear that he was never truly good enough. Once the world crowns you as a king, it rarely allows you to become an ordinary person again. Beneath the deafening roar of Wembley Stadium, that very first rehearsal in Gary, Indiana, never truly ended.